Okay, hi there everybody, this is Earl, Tenacious Baseball League again. This is going to be tutorial number 5. I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to record these offline because I think I can condense things a little more if I do so. That way, rather than, I like interacting with people on the live streams, but the trouble that I have is that I don't get to see those comments after the fact. And so, it's tough to kind of like go back through and look at the comments or the, in the live chat, and then those things disappear at the end after when I shut it off. And so then I can't really address them in better detail in future episodes. So I think it's probably better at this point to take videos and put them on that I've recorded offline, and it'll help me condense things, and it'll also hopefully coerce people into putting comments on the videos, so that way it can give me ideas of things that I haven't covered or things that aren't quite clear, and maybe we can dial in on those a little bit better. So this is going to be an episode. The 5th episode will be about stealing bases. I'm going to try to keep these more succinct. So hopefully that's what I can do here. So this one will be stealing bases, and we'll get into some other alternative mechanisms that will come in handy going forward in your whether it's solo play or whether it's with friends, and whether we'll cover basic and advanced mostly here until we get a little further down the road. So here we go, stealing bases, TBL tutorial number 5. So we're talking about stealing bases here, and the primary point of stealing bases is always going to end up being the runner. If a runner is good at stealing, then their chances of being successful are going to be better, obviously, than someone who isn't. And that can also be, it's also influenced in the advanced game by the catcher arm, but in the basic game, we'll start with that. The formula is the runner rating, and then what we're going to say is held with a question mark. So if the runner is held, it's a factor. So we'll say plus, yes, is a factor from catcher. From the catcher rating, and if it's no, then it's 0. Okay? So that will equal your D20 cutoff. So for basic, they again, as they always try to do, they try to simplify things. So what we're going to have is Leonis Martin, so this running is different than the stealing. The stealing is an A stealer. So what we're really going to need to do is have a chart which shows the starting ratings. So let's come back here in just a second once I've done that. So we're back. So these are the base ratings, and actually they will work for both basic and advanced, these ratings. So Leonis Martin being an A stealer, you look at if he's on first, he's stealing for second, it's a 15. So if you're in basic, you take the runner rating. So let's say they're playing the Dodgers and it's Yasmani Grandal. As a catcher, he is a 2-rated catcher. Now, hold on just a moment. Okay, so your factor from the catcher. So what you have to do is you have to ask a question: is the defense holding the runner? If the defense is holding the runner, you find. So if it's Grandal, it's a 2, so you have to subtract 3 from Martin's A base rate. So he goes from a 1 to 15 down to a 1 to 12. So that's how you would do it in basic. You would take his steal, runner, let me put that in here to be clear, steal rating. And you take that number and you correlate it to this chart They have a chart. It's on the basic strategy guide. I'm not going to show it. It's more or less these same numbers, and so these are just the top numbers on those in those categories. So you just assume all these are 1 to 17, 1 to 15. Okay. You take that rating in basic. You factor in whether the defense is holding the runner. So again, for Martine, it's a 15 minus 3 for the 2 rated catcher. Makes it a 1 to 12. Let's take Adrian Beltre as an example now. He is an E stealer. So, hold on, let me get it to where it, there you go. So the E is a 7. Same thing. You subtract 3, and that makes him a 1 to 4 chance. So his chances are pretty low. So that is basic. Now the advanced uses the same starting points. So let's go down here to advanced. So advanced, it gets a little more intricate, but it's still the same. So it's the runner, the steal rating. Okay. We don't have to worry about the catcher's factors anymore. What we use is the catcher arm. Okay. There's that. And then plus, we ask this question again. Held? Question mark. Okay. So, there is, what I'm gonna have to do here is I'm gonna do for no, you go 0. Okay, for yes, I'll be right back. So, you figure out the held. And what I did is I changed this to a minus. So it's the runner steal rating plus the catcher arm minus whether the runner's held is on. So if the runner's not held on, it's minus 0. Runner is held, you take the letter grade of the runner steal. So for instance, with Martine being an A, we again take the 15, and Grandal's arm was, it's a 0. So let's take a look here. Grandal is a 0. So you take the 1 to 15 minus 0. It's still 1 to 15. Let's say he was held on. So for an A, that's 2. So you subtract 2 from that. So that makes him a 1 to 13 chance to steal. And that equals your D20 cutoff. So again, let's do Beltre. So again, it's going to be a 0 arm for Grandal. Beltre is an E. So we go 7 minus 0. But then you do the minus 4 if he's being held on. So he goes all the way down to a 1 to 3 chance of stealing. So, again, if the runner's held, GB plus chances are turned into single 2 stars. So that's kind of defensively, that's something. Okay, so the other thing for advanced. So what happens is so let's go ahead and do Martine with Grandal. So we did again here with the advanced. Well, let's start with basic. So we're going to do basic. He's an A. 1 to 15, you subtract, he's held on, so you subtract 3, 1 to 12. So we're going to roll. It's an 18, he's caught stealing. Okay, let's roll it again. Goes off the screen, but it's a 5, so that is, he makes it to second. Let's turn it over to advanced, same situation. But different calculation. Steal rating A, that's a 15, no arm. Factor, so because it's a 0, and then let's say he's held on. That's you subtract 2, so it's a 1 to 13 chance. Now we roll. Okay, I'm glad that came up. So he is still safe. So, throwing error. An advanced throwing error is possible on 1, 2, or 3 D20 roll upon steal. What this means, I'm going to put some exclamation marks, okay? What this means is, if you can visualize it, the catcher throws to second base to try to get the runner. A 1 to 3 means that it's an errant throw, and you have to try and what you'll have to do is there's a factor that's on the catcher's card called the T rating. T is 1 to 4 for Grandal. What you have to do is then re-roll. So let's write it down here. So if TE is possible, re-roll D20 to see if roll falls into catcher's T range. So in this case, again, Grandal is a 1 to 4, so let's roll and see if it gets into 1 to 4. It's a 15, so there would be no throwing error. It has to fall within it. So there's a 7. There you go. There's a 4. He's a 1 to 4. A throwing error would occur, and the runner would get stolen base to second, and then a throwing error would advance him to third base. So at this point, for advanced, those are the additional things to consider. And so one thing you could do is, well, let's say if you're playing a solo game, you may have certain limitations that your team has, which may want you, or make you, well, your team. When you're playing solo, you're playing as both teams, but you may realize that one team has some significant, maybe doesn't have the same amount of power, doesn't have the same number of, quality hitters, and you think, well, we may need to steal a little bit more often in order to, kind of goose things along, because I think we're at a disadvantage. So, what you probably should do when you approach a game is decide, okay, well, what threshold level am I going to tolerate to be able to, roll on the stolen base? Am I, and for each out, you may have a lower tolerance. With 2 outs, you may say, you know what, especially if you have the bottom of the order at the plate, you may say, the chances of me getting 2 hits in a row are pretty slim. I'm going to try to steal second. That makes it so that maybe 1 hit gets me there. Now, you probably don't want to roll. So I guess that's another thing that I have yet to talk about is stealing third and stealing home. So here you go. Stealing third, same formula, except you use adjusted ratings for the runner. So, if it's a B, 9. In the case of Martin, he would be a 10. Then you subtract the 0, and you have to decide, is the defense going to hold him on? If they're not going to hold him on, it's just a simple 1 to 10. And you roll it, and he gets an 11, and he's out. But, you roll it again, it's a 10. He's safe at third. With 1 out, that's a real advantage to be able to take third base and have a chance for a fly ball B to bring the runner home. Stealing home, that is something that is really difficult to implement in this game, I think. It's, there aren't many double A's, and there aren't many situations where you might say to yourself, I'm willing to take the 35% chance. Like in this case, you don't have to worry about the catcher arm. It's just, whether and again, does the defense hold them on or not? You know, so if the defense holds you on as a double A, that makes it with no arm factor, it's a 1 to 5 chance. Are you gonna take that 1 to 5? I mean, that's like a 250 average. If you've got a guy up there that's you know, batting 200, then maybe you go for it, and you get a 1, and he steals home, and you get a run out of it. But that's like a very it's a very difficult. The other way that this comes into play mostly is through some of the things like the squeeze play. If you get a high roll in the squeeze play, you'll be forced to send the runner from third, as it was the suicide squeeze. So again, it's really tough to say. Do you really want to hold the runner? You're gonna let a single 2-star happen if you hold the runner, and is the other team going to? And so this is like head to head is different than solo. Like in solo, you're rarely going to ever try one of these, but head to head, you might catch someone saying to themselves, "They're never going to steal home. I'm not going to hold them at third." And you're like, "Oh, okay. Well, 2 outs, and I have a crappy batter with the 2 outs. I'm going to go ahead and try this." So you do the shot there, and it's a 3, and you score. And sometimes you get the roll, other times you're not going to. So, and I don't believe that there is the only real double steal situation that is really going to happen in this is probably first and second. Sometimes it might be of value to try and send the runner from second, or both the runners from second and first, to try and set up a play where you could score 2 runs, and you might trade the out for still the chance to get 1 run home. So I don't know. I'm gonna wrap this up now. So I hope this has helped clear up some of the stuff with the rating system and the formulas, because again, it's kind of difficult to sort of piece it all together in the book. It gets a little bit up here as far as the level of stuff that you've got to pay attention to and try to dig through. And if you were with people who played in a league or something face to face, they would be able to help you straight up. I'm hoping that this helps you in a similar way to see that yes, basic and advanced are different. There's just little different additions into the situation, but really it's something that you can probably do in your head real quick during the game, and put it together and be able to decide real quick, oh, I've got a guy at first, I'm going to take this bag, or try to take the bag. It's worth it because of my percentages. And you can do trial and error and figure out what is most comfortable for you. Maybe you're willing to take an extra out or 2 to try and move runners along because you think that's the best way that you have to ensure that you're going to score runs. If you don't have many guys who are just popping the ball out of the park, it can come in handy. So our next video will be on, I think it'll be on the other advanced strategy aspects, which would basically be the hit and run and the bunting situations, sacrifice and squeeze play. So look forward to that in the next couple days. And till then, this has been Earl. Like us on Facebook and Twitter. If you could subscribe to this channel and like the video here, that would be great. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I hope you all strat on.